Welcome back to another episode of Drivers4Drivers. I'm Ken Cox. Francis Ham, Kenny Coons.
Howdy.
We've got Danny.
Hello.
We are
Drivers4Drivers.
Today we are going to talk about a whole bunch of things.
That's right.
Keep it on the lighter side. I'm going to kick it off with SMS. We'll go and do something safety. We'll talk about EDC,
Yeah, we can do EDC today.
because that's the first one that came to my brain.
So that's what we'll do today.
I'll
My
tell you
mind's just wandering.
what. Let's break it down a little bit though, because we talk about abbreviations. SMS. What is SMS?
That's a good idea. I thought it meant save more socks.
Well, we talk about it, and we say SMS. We know what that is, you know, and we know how the scores and how it affects us and how it affects the drivers and everything else. But really, what is it? And
Safety measurement score.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Safety measurement score.
Come on, safety guy.
Oh, no, I just,
He's used to the abbreviation.
I'm still stuck on ECD or
no, EDC,
EDC.
everyday carry.
Oh, everyday carry.
Yeah.
Because I got EDI, which is electronic
You mean,
sending of loads. I got.
you mean the KPIs?
I know what KPIs are.
got a couple ELDs.
One of these days we need to dedicate a show where we just talk in whatever those are called.
Abbreviations?
The just letters.
Yeah. that's right.
LOL.
I sent them kin Latin earlier.
Ken Lanton. Yeah. Maybe you had a stroke. I did trying to read that. I don't read gooder anyway.
On that same thing that you just mentioned, Francis, who issues the SMS scoring?
The FMCSA.
Oh, okay.
Another one.
Another one.
Federal Motor Carriers.
Are they a government agency?
They are.
Oh, okay.
Do those numbers that are used to create the scores, are those generated electronically and on their own, or do we put those numbers in when we go through DOT? How do those get
So we get
gathered?
We get pulled into the DOT station, Department of Transportation, huh? And typically
Do you start at 100 or 0?
you start at 0.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
The
a lower score is
the
better.
Yep.
Okay.
in stereo. And so there's categories that we're scored on, if you will. Okay, there's hours of service. There's vehicle maintenance. There is hazmat cargo, which we don't do. There's
Health?
driver fitness. And
Really?
yes, driver fitness. But that's not like
Right,
push-ups and sit-ups and stuff like that.
Right.
That's making sure that you've got your med card and your CDL up to date and
Yeah.
things like that. There's another one, unsafe driving.
Yep.
That's the other one, is unsafe driving. Unsafe driving is not necessarily in the DOT station or in the way station. Typically, you'll get those when you're pulled over, speeding, reckless driving, that kind of stuff, tailgating, improper lane change, texting and driving.
Yep.
Yeah.
All bad things.
Yeah.
So the higher this score goes,
The worse.
the worse you're off. Ours, they come out monthly. A lot of times they'll stay on the record for 2 years. And then after the first year, some of the points pop off. So like if you get put out of service, it's a 3. And so the year after it's a 2, and then, it falls off. And so those kind of affect that.
Don't they times it by something too?
Yeah, there's an equation that goes through it.
Yes, there is.
It recently changed, and I want to say last 6 months or so. Marla's much better at explaining all of this part of it. I don't math.
We'll have her on again.
So we can have her dive into that. That's why, she's been doing this a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
But in a nutshell, the FMSCA,
Yeah.
Close. FMC.
give a score based on how you're doing, and that comes out every month, every
month.
quarter.
Every month that comes out.
Okay.
So the first couple, they have a threshold of 65 points. Anything above 65 puts us in an alert status. What that means for you as the driver is that you're going to get pulled into the ports a lot more.
Yep.
You're going to see a lot more red lights. Okay. Anything below 65, a lot better. Some of these are 80, like driver fitness is 80. I'm not going to really go into those. The most important ones that we focus on all of them, but you as the driver going down the road, you want to know unsafe driving, vehicle maintenance, and hours of service. Those are the three that you can control daily. And the rest of them, we in safety kind of take care of it in the background, and we make sure that your CDLs are up to date and stuff like that, which is something that you're supposed to do anyway, but we're just an added protection there. So for unsafe driving, last month we were at 33, and we got just a little bit high on that at 34. So it went up a percentage. That was a couple parking tickets
In the winter.
in the winter.
Well, ain't that something?
That's right.
Thanks, FMCSA.
That's
I
right.
know.
How dare you park?
Why didn't you park in that snowbank where you're supposed to park?
That's right.
That's right. The next one is hours of service, 56 to 55. So we dropped a percentage there, which
good.
is good.
Hey.
Yep, good.
And then vehicle maintenance, 33 to 34. So we went up a hair on that one. And I don't think that one was due to anything that we did on our side. I think that was because we had a good inspection fall off. So
okay.
we can also help with these scores by getting good inspections. That puts a good check mark on there, drops the scores.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So we went down on unsafe. Was that because everybody was off for Christmas?
That's probably.
That's why it should be Christmas all year round.
Not a joking manner. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
I have seen the alerts that we get through Samsara and through Omnitrax. They've come through a lot the last couple weeks with speed and extreme speed. I understand you guys are a little bit behind because of the weather, and you get into these clear openings, the roads are dry, and you're going, and then you just take off and go and use that downhill to coast. I will tell you right now,
It's not worth it.
it is not worth it.
I can understand where a person says, hey, I got to make up for time. But the reality is, we're going to be late. Talk to your dispatch. Let them know we're running late. And we're running late. And we will get there when we get there, when we can safely be there. It's never worth taking a chance. That chance, you'll never benefit from it. I think we just communicate ahead of time. We get in there when we can get in there, and we get the product delivered. And at least we know doing that, we're not taking any risks, not only with the driver and the driver's person. We want them to be safe. We want the driver to be safe. We want the equipment to be safe, and we want the load to be safe. And, at that, if it takes a little longer to get there because of inclement weather or whatever, then that's what it's going to take. And we'll communicate it ahead of time, but we'll make sure at the end of that run that load gets delivered and everybody is in good shape.
Yep.
Curious.
Ooh, lay it on me.
What excess speed does it have to hit in order for an alert to come through? 5? 10?
Five over the posted speed limit. If it's 35 miles an hour and you're doing 40, I get a notification.
5 or 6.
5.
So they got 5.
They got 5, right? I'm not gonna. If you're doing 40 and a 35, it's not it's a little email saying, hey, just kind of slow it down a little bit, especially if it becomes a pattern. So I sit there and I
But
check.
10, there's an issue.
The 10, there's an issue. If you were going over 80 miles an hour, that's not good.
Well, especially in a 35.
yeah, especially in a 35. Francis won't do that again.
No,
I'm just kidding.
no.
Yeah, 80 miles an hour. If you're going over that, you're just and Greg finds out, then you're done. There's zero tolerance for that.
Which is kind of nice. If you think about if you know that the people behind you are not ever going to push you to do something you shouldn't be doing just to get the load out, and that they understand how important it is for you to be safe, that's more important than getting the load there on time. We want to get the load there on time.
Obviously.
But that is not, that load is not more important than you are.
Yeah, and I think it goes more than just Greg. It goes for the entire management team. Nobody wants to see somebody doing that. It goes for the people on the road. It creates a hazard when you're driving that fast with a truck and trailer. You got a lot of weight behind you, and you can't make a quick move without having some kind of an incident happen. The other thing is our customers who dedicate that freight to us to haul. They give it to us to haul. It's our responsibility to get it there in good shape. And we can't risk it for the customer either. The customer doesn't want you speeding down the road either. So nobody really wants that happening. And I think it's up to, our drivers, and our drivers are very much professionals. We don't have any rookies out there running down the road. No. These are professional people. And it goes back into their judgment, and what they're going to do. That day when you're running, it may be 75 miles an hour posted out there, but safe conditions may be 35, due to weather or whatnot, and you just bring it down to 35 and you run it. And if it's going to cause an issue, first of all, I think planning comes from before you even get the load. What kind of weather's coming your way. Nowadays, you can look at any forecast, and see what kind of weather's coming. You can kind of look at where you're running, anticipate what's going to happen. Sometimes it says it's going to snow 3 feet, and you get out there and it's a sunshiny day because the weatherman missed it, and that's great. Sometimes it says it's going to be sunshiny and you got 3 feet of snow, and it happens. But I think you start out by planning your trip and giving yourself ample time to get there. And if something happens and the weather changes and you can't get there in time or whatever, it's communication. Let's get ahead of it. Let's talk to the customer. Let's talk to everybody on what's going on. And then we want you to be safe and handle the equipment and don't drive any faster than you should. And we'll get it there.
That's that word again. Communication. I think our weatherman goes outside and licks his fingers. I swear.
That's what I'd do.
That's right.
I know you really want to talk about EDC, Kenny, but I feel like this topic that we're currently talking about really goes on to what we were possibly going to talk about next week, which is the
Perception.
Yes, the perception of truck drivers. Thank you, Ken.
Is that public perception of truck
the
drivers?
public perception. We were just talking, and I think we should do that for this show. Because this goes right along with some of the amazing drivers we have and some of the things that they have done this week that the public has noticed and has emailed us about.
Yep, for sure. So we got a one of the drivers after every podcast or email thing I sent out, it's hey, what questions do you have? What do you want to put on the podcast? And so Mr. Perry emails in and says, what can we do to help change the public perception
of truck drivers?
Of truck drivers. And so I was like, that's a great idea. And it just so happened that when he sent that out, we had 2 people call in. We had one email call come in, and then a young lady call in about 2 of our drivers that went above and beyond out on the road.
And when you first came in today, we talked about how maybe 50 years ago when a truck driver pulled up behind you.
The 1980s. Right?
Yeah.
They were superheroes. They of the road. They were the superheroes of the road. Mm-hmm. If you were in trouble and a truck driver pulled up behind you, you knew that you were going to be
okay.
They're going to get you out.
Yeah.
They knew how to navigate that road.
I read an email that came across, and it complimented one of the drivers, and I don't think the driver was even aware. They were traveling down the road. I believe it was on the interstate, and a motorist had come behind them, got onto the interstate, and terrible road conditions. They could hardly see, and they got in behind our truck and let our truck run up in front of them, and they were just kind of following that truck going down the interstate until such time as they came to their exit, and then they exited off the road at their exit. But in their message that they sent back to us, they were really complimenting the driver of doing a professional job, staying in the lane, and they relied on that driver to kind of help them get down the road to their next exit to get off, and do what they needed to do. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep, it was Mario. Mario, thank you. Yeah. He was doing a safe speed for the weather conditions, and he had his flashers on, and she felt comfortable going behind her driver, Mario, and
That's excellent. That's excellent.
I think she even had mentioned beforehand that the weather was so bad that they were being let out of work early. Mm-hmm. So she knew she was going home early and that the weather was just going to get worse. But she got caught in this weather. Mm-hmm. So her fear level was way up there. And having Mario, I mean, anytime somebody takes the time, I mean, she's driving a car in bad weather, and she took the time to send the driver number in.
Yeah.
That's how impressed she was with Mario. So
Well, there's a perception right there. Had that
Yes.
driver been in the left lane,
Yeah.
whitewashing everybody at
That's
a high
right.
rate of 80, you said?
80.
80.
279, I won't
That's
know.
that public perception could have been different.
Ahmed did the same thing. We got a phone call the other day. He was fueling up, and there was another truck driver, and she had pulled into the fuel island and wasn't able to get fuel. Something was going on. She was having some issues. Ahmed was able to go over there and help her, got her taken care of. She was able to get what she needed done, and then off the road she went. She called in and said, hey, this driver of this truck, did me a solid. And so that's another thing that, he did, like Mario, to help improve those perceptions. Some other things that we can do when we arrive at our shippers and receivers. Please and thank yous, smiles go a long way. Obviously, you want to show up with clothes on,
Clean clothes on,
Yeah.
maybe a shower.
look presentable.
Yes.
I was kind of thinking when you were talking about getting to a shipper or a receiver, I was thinking about that time you were talking, Kenny, about getting out of the truck and helping other drivers back up.
No, there's a lot more trucks on the road than back in the late 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
Whenever there was a car broke down, had a flat tire or something, it always seemed there was a truck driver pulling over to help change that car tire, and get the car going again. Or if a truck was on the side of the road, had these flashers and wasn't talking on the CB, you'd see a truck driver pull over in front of him, back up to him, go back, make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
A lot of that's where there's so many trucks now that everyone's racing the clock. They got their 11 hours to drive today, and that's going to screw up their drive time. And
I wonder if ELDs plays a role in that.
you're probably right.
Probably does. Yeah.
There's another abbreviation.
I know. What's ELD? Sorry.
ELD, electronic.
Log device.
Okay. Yeah.
Good job,
Elixir.
safety guy.
Elixir.
Logistical diaporama. I wonder also, I know this happens just as when I'm driving in my car, I see somebody on the side of the road. I think everybody's got a cell phone and they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I feel like we all kind of fall into that. Everybody's going to be fine. They've got to have a cell phone or something.
Yeah. I think there's a couple other things that go with that too. If you go back into the day, and of course nobody had a cell phone, right? There was no cell phones. Drivers, a lot of times they communicated with their CB, Channel 19, everybody was talking back and forth. There was a lot more communication with drivers. Sometimes travel in the same direction. People would talk back and forth, as you're running down the road. So you had that kind of happen. And I think there was more of a camaraderie with the drivers,
Like a social.
out on the road. And then I remember at times people traveling and you go by a truck stop or something, and they'd be hollering at each other, "Hey, I see you over there." You know what I mean? And it was just the way it was. And I think today we've kind of gotten away from some of that. A lot of times people don't even have a CB radio on, and they're listening to their satellite radio, and then they're communicating back and forth with a cell phone, where it's changed in time. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing. It's a good thing. There's a lot of benefits to it, but it has kind of changed the industry a little bit. As far as that goes, that piece of it.
You almost have to look for opportunities to be social.
Yeah.
And
I don't recall them 50 truck car pileups as much in the 80s and 90s.
I'm too young to know.
They had a car wreck up here,
Yeah.
Get on there and everybody slow down.
Yeah. And the SMS course, remember that? There's Smokey Bear up
I
there.
don't remember us. Well, trucking's very stressful. It's real easy to get the wrong pickup number, and you're already frustrated because you just walked 35 doors to check in.
Yeah.
Now you got to, because you forgot your phone, you got to walk 35 doors back to your phone, call somebody, get the number, walk 35 doors back, and now you got 4 other drivers in front of you, and you finally get up there with the correct numbers, and now you're late.
Yeah.
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 It's just frustrating, you know.
Absolutely. On the other side of that, though, that person that's been sitting there has been dealing with 300 of you
Doing the
frustrated
same thing.
fellers.
Yeah.
You know, please and thank yous and smiles. We want to get it, and we won't change this overnight,
No.
right? It's going to take some time, but it would be nice to have the Giltner drivers wearing, you know, the Giltner swag showing up to shippers, receivers, and the person behind that counter or that person that's getting you backed in or that yard dog is going, awesome, I get to talk to a Giltner driver today. Mm-hmm. That's what we're going for.
I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with some of our customers, and our customers have heard back from the receivers, from their warehouses and whatnot, that, hey, your drivers have always come in here doing a good job, you know, and that's great. It's happened where some of our drivers have gone in with a short fuse,
Sure.
and we've heard about that as well. The thing that you don't want, you don't want to do that. You know, it's like everything. We could do 100 things right, and you do one thing wrong, and the one thing that's wrong is identified. You know,
Sticks out like a sore thumb.
It does.
I
It
built
does.
bridges and bridges and bridges,
One falls
and
down.
one falls down.
That's right. That's right. But you know, I don't want anybody to think we're beating on anybody, because we're not. We understand. You know, we say we're drivers for drivers, and there's a reason for that, because we've all driven trucks, and we know what that's like, and it's a hard job. You know, I usually at the end of the podcast, I always tell everybody, thank you. And I mean that. It's a hard job. It starts from the very beginning with the communication issues just between the customer and or a broker, and back into dispatch and planning it. I mean, the group is putting 260 trucks onto a load board and trying to keep everybody moving, right? In the office is tough. And then trying to get that communication back to the drivers and make sure we get them the right paperwork, make sure we get appointments for them. They're pushing through weather, trying to get the load loaded on time, clean equipment, in good mechanical shape, getting the rest that they need to push down the road. It's just so much that goes into this thing to get that load and get it delivered on time in good condition. It's a tremendous job, and it's a hard job. None of it's easy. You know, it could be cold weather with inclement weather. It could be summertime where it's 100 degrees outside, and you got tire issues, and you got all kinds of stuff when it goes to that. It's always a challenge. It's like never is it easy, you know? And that one day you think this is going to be a piece of cake. Hold on.
It's always good to start the day with a good mindset.
It does.
Yeah.
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 Goes a long way. When you go up to check in and you're in a good mood, maybe she just dealt with someone that wasn't in a good mood, you know. You can change that public perception, you know.
Yeah.
Get that smile on your face.
Yeah.
I want to know so everybody has a bad day. What happens? You just get there to deliver your load, and something's happened and you are in the worst mood. How do you get out of a bad mood when you're in a bad mood and you don't have time to get out of the bad mood?
I think you take a deep breath. You decompress for a minute. Just take a minute, decompress, right? This too will pass. A week later, it's going to be a week ago that this happened, right? And then change the attitude right there. And just, as hard as it is, put a smile on your face and just go up and talk to whomever it is you have to talk to. Keep it to the point, you know, hey, do what you need to do. And then after that, and it happens, once you have that interaction, let's say it's at a receiver, and you have that interaction and you get the door and you're able to go into the door, then go get into the door, right? And then take a couple minutes and calm down. Just Take that time to make sure that you yourself are taken care of.
I like Tim Conway. No one can be mad at after watching Tim Conway skit.
Yep. Yeah.
His golf skits just, I can be mad as heck and watch Tim Conway skit on YouTube or something, and I'm just happy as can
That's
be.
right.
Look it up. Look up Tim Conway. You'll laugh.
Yep.
What do you do when you're upset?
You could always check your tire pressure with your hammer.
That's right. That's right.
Safety topic?
Yeah, we do have a safety topic, and I think some of this will help drivers stay in a good mood. So I want to talk a little bit. Right now, we're in the middle of winter. It's cold. You know, everywhere's cold. Issues with fuel. Make sure that you are legally running on the top side of your tank. And what I'm saying is understand where your weight's at. Take yourself up to weight, but keep as much fuel into your truck as you possibly can, because there's going to be times when you may get stuck someplace or whatever, right, where that fuel will definitely come in handy. So don't run on the bottom side of your tank. It's not worth it.
How many toes did we have?
16 toes.
16. So there's 16 reasons just in the last week or so.
Yeah, our trucks, we run all over the place. You know, we're running up in the Dakotas, Montana. We run down into Texas, Florida, Arizona, California. There's different fuel in different parts of the country. Some of the fuel has a winter additive into it. It's a winter blend. Other places are just running straight number 2 diesel. Make sure that your fuel is conditioned. If you have to put an additive in it or something to keep it from gelling up, you want to do that. Not only on the tractor, but also on the trailer. You know, we've had some issues with some trailers that are gelling. When you're running, this trailer could have been fueled down in Florida or Arizona or someplace warm. By the time you get it back up into this area, you could have a -1, -2 degree temperature outside. You're running down the road. You've got a 50 mile an hour, 60 mile an hour wind chill on it. Pretty soon you're 35, 45 below zero. That fuel gels up, you know, and then
All fuel gels up
Yeah.
at that.
yeah. So add some chemical or some additive
Yeah.
to the fuel in your trailer to prevent it from gelling up as well, especially if you're going to be dropping it at a customer location and grabbing another trailer and leaving. Worst thing you want is a customer to get that thing and try to put it in a door and load it for somebody else, and the reefer won't run because the fuel's all gelled up. So
Something I learned recently. Freightliner likes Eco Clean. I think it's Eco Clean Plus for their fuel additive. There's a difference between white bottle Rescue 911 or 911 Rescue and a red bottle Rescue 911. The red bottle is for when your fuel is already gelled. The white bottle is an additive before it's gelled. I just learned that recently.
There is a lot bigger returns to your fuel tanks nowadays than back in the day. So when you're going down the road, you're getting that warm fuel coming back to the tanks. But when you're sitting, you're not getting as much of that warm fuel.
yep.
You know, them reefers being dropped probably weren't gelled when they dropped them,
Yep.
but may not have got loaded for 2-3 days. You know, they will gel.
Yep.
Airline antifreeze too. We're talking about fuel, but it's trailers especially. Pull your glide hand off, pour that airline antifreeze in there, hook it back up, put the air to it. Brakes froze up are just as bad as fuel. Trust me.
Yes, they are.
You know, it only takes a second. Steady hand can get it in the hole.
Yep. Cap full, let it in there, off you go.
Yep.
Drain those air tanks.
Yep.
You know, they do get water in them.
Yep.
Yeah, there should be a line on there. If something's wrong with them, let's get them repaired so we can get them drained. Your air dryer will only do so much.
And I'll tell you, just a piece of advice. If you're in a yard and you're going to hook up to a trailer, and you hook that trailer, and the brakes are frozen, the worst thing that you can have is released brakes on a tractor. and back there banging on a trailer. Because when it pops free, you don't have any brakes at all. It can roll. You know, and that's the worst place you want to be, is underneath the trailer when it's starting to roll. So make sure you're setting your tractor brakes when you're doing that. And I see a lot of people even put a wheel chock in just to make sure. And, you know, your safety is number one. So think about where you're at and what you're doing. And is there any chance that something can happen, and make sure that your safety is number one.
Don't be the guy that runs yourself over.
Putting additive in to a reefer trailer. Don't just put additive in and drop the trailer, because there's fuel lines in there. You have to run that
Yeah.
fuel with that additive to where it can reach that motor. If you're just going to drop it and dump a bottle in there, it's probably not going to do you no good. It might for the tank, but the whole rest of the fuel system will jail.
Yep, not good.
How long do you think you have to run it to get it all the way through?
15, 20 minutes, you should be getting something up there.
Yeah.
You can drop it, run it through a pre-trip. By the time it's done with this pre-trip, it should have enough of that anti-gel to come through, or
Yeah.
additive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Closing thoughts?
I touched on it a little bit earlier. I want to thank everybody for what you're doing out there. You're doing an amazing job. You're taking good care of our customers, the freight, and the company, and doing what you do. Thank you very much. You touched on SMS scores at the very beginning, and those scores are outstanding. It's an outstanding job. So thank you for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Kenny?
My Cowboys are out.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you about those.
Wait, I thought they already won the Super Bowl.
Well, they did Kenny Super Bowl.
They're all winners in my heart.
I think it's because I was out plowing this dang snow and jinxed them instead of watching the game.
It's your fault then.
Definitely.
Well, I'm beginning to wonder.
Dallas fans, you know what happened.
Need some more people rooting for next year?
Yeah.
Do you think Dallas would ever be a sponsor of Drivers for Drivers?
I'm sure Jerry Jones is right on that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'll send out an email.
Yeah, just send an email to Ken Cox or K Cox.
K Cox.
Kcox at Giltner.com.
That's right.
I just follow up on Francis's deal. You know, the mental stress out there is very difficult in the trucking industry. Just everyone, let's keep our heads on straight, focus on the good parts of it.
Yep.
You know, and let's just all get along.
Good.
And hug it out.
Again?
So as we end this episode, we want to thank you for doing what you're doing. I'll reiterate what these fellas have said, 100%. You guys are doing great out there. Remember social medias, and also remember recruiting bonuses for those drivers that are hired. So keep your eyes and ears on the road. If you see something, say something. And thanks for making a better move.
See ya.